Have you watched any of the Olympics?
I thought that the opening ceremony was a disgrace, actually. I thought it was a disgrace.
The Paris 2024 Olympics have opened a can of worms we've never truly seen before. The opening ceremony of the Games exposed the world to the dark side of the Western culture.
Did you get a chance to see the opening ceremony last night here in France?
Yeah, we did.
It was amazing.
Yeah, it was great, really artistic, very creative.
Did you like it?
Yes, I love it.
A side that has been hidden for many years, with people using words like secret society or Freemason to describe it. Paris 2024, on the other hand, showcased these things for all to see, under the guise of inclusion. If these are your first Olympic Games, you may think, this is something new. At first glance it may seem that way, but it's actually not. The London 2012 Olympic Games opening ceremony were no different from the Paris 2024 ceremony, in terms of the symbolism and the cryptic worship of evil. With pyramids and witches flying around, the Games may have benefited to a degree from the fact that the world's town square, Twitter, still in its infancy. So the backlash was not to the level that it is today. In fact, the London 2012 Olympics actually spoke, in symbols, of Zion and a group of people that neither I nor Kanye West would like to offend. The logo of the 2012 Games actually spelt out Zion. When the letters are arranged, of course, it was a cryptic message, almost foreshadowing the things we are seeing today. The 2012 Olympics were so controversial that Iran did not participate. It ran. The country chose to boycott the Games. The claim was refuted by the International Olympic Committee, who claimed the logo represented the number 2012. The Games featured so many symbols, from pyramids to this ancient symbol of immorality. Now, while you may be thinking these things are unique only to Paris and London, you have to remember, the Beijing 2008 Olympics motto was, "One world, one dream." Seems harmless, but it's not. It's an attempt at indoctrination, which all adds up to the Paris opening ceremony we saw, that was an attempt at rubbishing Christian beliefs and calling for a world where everything is accepted, especially what is wrong. Now, while it's easy to think that these three events are standalone, events of catastrophic nonsense, that is not the case. Let us just jog our memories on the history of the Olympic Games, games that date back to more than 1,500 years ago. The history of the Olympic Games may be disjointed in places, but there's a consistency with the manner that they began and what we are seeing in the Paris 2024 edition. The first written evidence of the official Games dates from 776 BC, when the Greeks began measuring time in Olympiads, or the duration between each edition of the Olympic Games. The Games were held every 4 years, just as they are now. And back then, it was done in honor of the god Zeus. It's believed that Zeus's domain was Mount Olympus, where he ruled over both gods and humans. He was known for his numerous romantic escapades and fathered many gods, demigods, and heroes. Do you smell that? Yes, you're right. Immorality. Zeus was worshipped across the ancient Greek world, with major sanctuaries dedicated to him, such as Olympia, where the original Olympic Games were held in his honor. The Olympic Games have never been games of the light. They've always been games of darkness with a very shoddy beginning. And not much has changed really. In 393 AD, the Roman Emperor Theodosius I banned the Olympic Games for religious reasons, claiming that they encouraged paganism. And he was not wrong. Fast forward to 1896, when the modern Olympic Games were born in Athens, Greece, with athletes from 14 nations competing in 43 events. The Olympic Games have grown into the world's premier sporting event, bringing together athletes from all corners of the globe. And that's why they make for such a great breeding ground for the work of the devil, because many people are watching these games, well over 1 billion, and so to attempt to normalize evil is ideal for those that want to push ungodly agendas. The Olympic Games are allegedly supposed to be games of neutrality where people do not impose ideologies and religious beliefs, but this has not been the case for a while now. And at the Paris Games, there has been evil that has been endorsed but good has been rejected, from before the Games even began, and yet the Last Supper was mocked in the opening ceremony for all to see. What an atrocity. The Olympic Games have been on the decline for years now, and this to me came across as an attempt to have people talking about them again, but it didn't work. Cities were previously pulling out bids to host the tournament, with the last bid only having 2 cities, and both cities being awarded the next 2 installments of the Games. The Paris incident will be fresh in the minds of everyone at the bid for the next Games, and it may lead to countries either shunning the occasion to host, or host nations using the Games as an opportunity to share their beliefs, which will be in conflict with the rules of the Games. But people aren't buying this. From the athletes openly demonstrating their faith, like the renowned tennis star Novak Djokovic holding his cross, or the Brazilian 16-year-old girl who publicly signed her about Jesus, the light always shines bright, especially in darkness. Regardless of whether the First Lady of the United States, Mrs. Biden, calls that opening ceremony spectacular or not.
Spectacular. The rain did not dampen our spirits. And Casey, honestly, every step of the way, I was thinking to myself, oh my God, how are we going to top this? How are we going to top this?
People aren't buying it. Or whether it's the French president himself stating this is France. Like a Sparta cry? People do not buy the noise. They only want to live in a world where religion is respected and the non-religious are as accommodating as they'd like to be accommodated.
For Black people in particular, do you think that we can truly make change as things are right now?
Well, it starts in the home. You know, if the father's not in the home, the boy will find the father in the streets. Yeah. I saw it in my generation and every generation before me and everyone since. It starts in the home. You know, if the streets raise you, then the judge becomes your mother and, you know, and prison becomes your home.
He isn't lying, and not just for Black people. For people generally, and for society overall. Removing the father from the home is what's leading to some of the atrocities we are witnessing at the Paris 2024 Olympics. Ladies and gentlemen, that opening ceremony was by no means normal behavior. Emasculating men is destroying the home. And then destroying society? Breaking the family unit is what causes grown men to shameless walk around barely dressed in front of a global audience. Some of the crimes we see today are largely due to children coming from broken homes. And some of the opening ceremonies are that way too. Most successful nations on this earth leverage on strong family structures. They understand the importance of having strong families. For the strength of a country, look at how China rose to be where it is, and many Asian countries overall. Even the United States itself saw a lot of growth and development when family was treated with a level of sacredness. Today, it feels like our great nation is losing that spark it once had. A lot of men who are grounded and responsible will tell you how much strength they draw from the blessing of family. Snoop Dogg has been a somewhat welcome or comical part of the Olympics. He had a somewhat primary role appearing in many parts of the overall procession, including carrying the torch, as well as towering over the city of Paris. At times, he's been higher than the Eiffel Tower. Something many people may have missed about these appearances is that in many of the shots, Snoop is wearing a very weird chain around his neck. It looks like a goat chain, but it's not. When you look closer, you realize the chain is one of Baphomet. What gets weirder is that the chain on his neck looks like the tattoo on this woman's hand, the very woman who was central to the mockery of the Last Supper. The Olympics opening ceremony was filled with a lot of controversy and symbols, and one thing I may not have expected is that one of our own would be a sellout. But what can I say? These people will do anything for money. I'm sure when he comes back from the Olympics, he'll be endorsing the presidential candidate that stands for what he stands for. A lot of people call this man Uncle Snoop. Not me though. I'd never place on a pedestal a grown man that's advocating for devil worshipping. How abhorrent. If you haven't already realized it, the Paris 2024 Olympics are a battle between good and evil. Please do pick the right side to be on. I made a video on what Kanye West said about this. You may click on its end screens, or click on the video about Trump speaking against the Olympics.